What's up guys, my name's Timbo and welcome back to some more Destiny 2. As I was shamelessly browsing my own channel the other day, I realized I went an entire 9 months without making a Destiny video. And I thought to myself, someone could have literally had a kid in that amount of time. I recently posted a poll in the community tab asking what content of mine you like watching the most. If you could take a few seconds and respond to that, it would really help me out. Even though you'll all probably say Destiny 2, considering this is a Destiny video. Nothing wrong with that though. Speaking of Destiny, today we're going to talk about subclasses and more specifically, which ones are the best to run for each class in high-level PvE content. In the past, some people in the comments have been quick to tell me I suck at Destiny based on my gameplay, so you're probably thinking my opinion is invalid. Word to the wise, if you're an aspiring YouTuber who accidentally left a clip of you totally yoinking on a grenade, you better hope that video doesn't go viral. That video can be 20 beautiful minutes of straight Grammarly approved facts, but that grenade is all people will comment on. Mark my words, friends. While my skill has been put into question, let me make it known that I have Dead Man's Tale with the catalyst. Oh yeah, baby. I sure hope you new viewers out there get my sarcasm, because there's a lot of it. Before we get into the ranking, I have a few disclaimers. Destiny is filled with tons of powerful and fun stuff, and I highly encourage you to use whatever you want. Try out your exotic weapons, utilize the different subclass trees, and apply various mods. In games like Destiny, there will always be tons of information about what build has the absolute most optimal statistics to squeeze out every morsel of DPS, as if Destiny itself was an empty toothpaste tube just begging to be thrown out already. And here's the thing, for 80 to 90% of you, none of that stuff matters. Excluding raids, dungeons, and nightfall strikes at legend difficulty or higher, the weapons, mods, and subclasses you pick really won't make a difference. In most of the game's activities, you'll blast through everything with ease as long as your big yellow number matches the little yellow recommended number. Easy peasy. The baby that was born in between my last 2 Destiny videos can do that. So use what you like, regardless of its ranking on this list, or any other for that matter. But if you keep playing Destiny long enough, eventually you'll casually load into a dungeon or this little mission called the Harbinger, and get punched in the mouth wondering what an unstoppable champion is and why he has more health than the boss of the Inverted Spire Strike. And while we won't be talking about champions, this video is designed to make the hardest PvE content in the game a little bit easier. So if you do want to run those more difficult activities, you'll have a better understanding of how to not handicap yourself or get booted from an LFG group, which isn't a nice thing for people to do, but it unfortunately happens to people who don't know what KWTD Bring Gallywell strat means. It's rough out there sometimes. To keep things simplified, I'm not going to mention every single tree, but rather the best tree for PvE in each subclass. I play Hunter primarily, so I might have a slight bias there, but this video is also just made for fun, so feel free to drop your own lists down in the comments. Even though I said I had a bias towards Hunters, ironically the subclass I'm placing at the absolute bottom is Arcstrider Hunter. The only time I run Arcstrider in PvE is if the Vanguard Strike playlist has Arcsinge, and I want the powerful reward from it. Let's get this right out of the way. Arcstrider and the other subclasses near the bottom of the list aren't necessarily bad. They will still kill ads and do all that stuff that they're supposed to do just fine. There are just far better options out there, as you'll see. Arcstrider is good at clearing out ads, Raiden Flux is a good exotic to use, it has the utility of stunning bosses and blocking incoming damage, and let's be honest, it looks freaking awesome. If you have some of the more crucial subclass options filled on your fire team, then go for it. But otherwise, it would be best to skip out on Arcstrider, no pun intended. Coming up next is Sunbreaker Titan. Like Arcstrider, Sunbreakers aren't bad. They used to be used a lot, especially in Destiny 1, but these days there are just better options out there for Titans. Sunbreaker is more of a niche thing these days. There's really not a whole lot to say about Sunbreaker Titan, honestly. It clears out ads, it gets the job done in most activities, it can be good in certain raid encounters that have tons of ads and you need to designate people to control the ads. But aside from a couple of cool perks it has, there is little utility here compared to the other Titan subclasses. If you weren't catching on to the theme yet, the quote-unquote worst subclasses in Destiny 2 are those that are mainly focused on ad clearing. Subclasses with ad clearing supers are significantly better in PvP. It's what I feel like they're primarily designed for. With that being said, next up we have Palpatine Hands, Stormcaller Warlock. Stormcaller is a fun subclass. It is a thrall's worst nightmare. But here's the reason why these subclasses aren't great in PvE. If you want the effect of Stormcaller Warlock or an ad clearing super, you can use something like Risk Runner, Trinity's Ghoul, Aegir's Scepter. There are several exotic weapons that chew through ads. If you have Trinity's Ghoul with the Catalyst, all you have to do is kill one enemy and you can effortlessly shoot at the ground and watch as you electrocute everything in like a freaking 5-mile radius. You can get that same ad clearing effect with weapons, freeing up your subclass slot to use something with a little bit more utility that helps out your team. A super takes roughly 5 to 6 minutes to charge depending on your intellect. All you need is for a dreg or something dealing arc damage to shoot you once, and the superconductor perk activates on Risk Runner. Doing that makes your build much more well-rounded. If you do want to use Stormcaller for fun, I would recommend using No Time to Explain with it, because if you combine that with Arc Soul, you get 2 little buddies shooting for you, which is awesome. You can also use the middle tree to put some decent damage into bosses, champions, or one dreg that you just really hate. Coming up next on the list to round out all the Arc subclasses is the Striker Titan. This one might be slightly controversial for being this low, I don't know. I play Striker Titan kind of middle bottom on the list because it's really only good in PvE if you have a specific exotic gear piece. If you run the exotic Curios of the Falling Star and combine it with Middle Tree Striker, you essentially become a nuclear missile. I don't use Titan a lot, so I don't have this chest piece, but there are plenty of videos online and people that I know that just love to fling themselves like Superman into bosses, and I'm not talking your run-of-the-mill strike bosses, I'm talking about Atheon himself, and it is incredible. Those people have way bigger balls than I do. Middle Tree Striker was already a pretty good neutral game subclass, but this combination gives you tons of single target damage, which is very valuable to have in raids and dungeons. This might be a bit surprising to some, but since they're so different from the other ones right now, I'm going to lump all of Stasis into one category and place them here. Don't get me wrong, Stasis is super powerful, and some Stasis subclasses are better than others. But in my opinion, the output you get from Stasis relies on your individual aspects, fragments, and weapons more than the other subclasses do. The light subclasses have trees with set perks, but Stasis allows the player to customize a more unique build, leading to a greater variety in playstyles and more variability in its overall effectiveness. Void subclasses are getting updated alongside the launch of the Witch Queen next month, giving us more customization like we have with Stasis, which might change the order of this list, might not, but for the time being, I'm going to put Stasis here. The gameplay loop of Stasis relies on slowing or freezing targets, creating crystals, and then shattering those crystals, dealing area of effective damage. Revenant and Shadebinder are definitely stronger than Behemoth Titan, in my opinion, as Behemoth's playstyle centers around sliding across the map, laying crystals down everywhere. This works great in lower difficulty activities, but if you go into a Master Nightfall Strike, for example, getting that close to swarms of enemies will make you real dead real fast. Revenant and Shadebinder are mostly mob clearing supers too, but I believe they're the best at doing so, especially when paired with a stasis weapon like Aegir's Scepter or Ias Luna with Headstone. Using these weapons alongside a stasis subclass allows them to decimate ads. Once again, if the essential must-have subclass slots are already filled and you want to run something to clear ads, stasis is the best option in the game, in my opinion, unless you're a Titan. The ability to slow and freeze targets is very useful during encounters where things get clustered and chaotic with lots of enemies. With a slight edge over stasis comes Voidwalker Warlock. The Voidwalker subclass has largely remained unchanged from Destiny 1, and it's still a great option in virtually any encounter. Voidwalkers have the best neutral game in Destiny. Voidwalkers are tanky, they have tons of ways to get their health back, they can do cool and creative things with their grenades. Voidwalkers are great to run in groups, but also as a solo player to try to stay alive in harder activities. Since Voidwalker has been around for so long, there are also tons of great exotic options to enhance your abilities. Nova Bomb both clears out enemies and deals lots of single target damage. It's not the best Warlock subclass, but you can't go wrong with it in virtually any encounter, especially those where you're going up against lots of enemies with void shields. Next up is my personal favorite subclass to run, that being Gunslinger. Unlike many of the other subclasses in the game, Gunslinger offers two branches with different supers that are both viable options. Way of the Sharpshooter is one of the harder, if not the hardest, subclass to use in Destiny 2, as its super and melee attacks rely on precision damage to be effective. But if you can hit your shots, you'll be rewarded with some of the highest freaking DPS in the game for any class. This branch, along with Celestial Nighthawk, is a staple for any raid or dungeon fire team, with one shot dealing hundreds of thousands of damage. If you want more of a solo-minded neutral game playstyle, the middle tree also works very well. If you pair this with Gambler's Dodge and the exotic chess piece Ophidia Spaith, you can basically throw knives non-stop. This is especially good in activities with match game. I usually like to run with an arc and void weapon and then use my knives to break any solar shields. If you have Ias Luna, then you can literally have every element in the game covered all by yourself. Throwing knives do a lot more damage than people think, making this a very powerful option, even though Blade Barrage itself is just okay. While Gunslinger is great, especially for solo play, I'm not going to place it above Night Stalker Hunter. Night Stalker offers tons of utility and support to any fire team, especially those in Nightfall strikes. You can use the super to deal lots of damage to a single target, or use it to trap a group of enemies. Turning you and your teammates invisible is incredibly useful in many scenarios. You can get yourself out of many sticky situations using this subclass, and the effects are made even greater if you have Omninoculus. My god, what a word. Orpheus Rig is also a great option to boost the effects of Bottom Tree. Coming in second place is the Defender Titan. The Titan Bubble is a staple of every raid group ever since the beginning of time, and it is still amazing now. As you move to higher level activities, you'll realize the most important abilities and supers aren't the ones that clear ads. The best subclasses are the ones that help keep you and your teammates alive. The Ward of Dawn has enough space to keep an entire raid team safe while also boosting their damage output. If you're a Titan and you don't have the ability to launch yourself into the boss with Striker, then Defender is the clear choice. Even if you can Superman yourself into the boss, Defender is still a very good option in my opinion. However, there is one super I believe is better than Defender Titan. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that regularly plays the game, but the best PvE subclass in Destiny 2 is Middle Tree Dawnblade. Middle Tree Dawnblade is very similar to a Defender Titan's bubble, as it both heals and provides a damage buff to those standing inside of it. Warlocks using this subclass can also consume their grenade and use it to heal their teammates. Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn can be kind of used interchangeably, but if you don't have either of them, you will struggle to the point of making some fights and damage phases impossibly hard. There are little to zero encounters where a Well of Radiance isn't useful, and unlike other supers, it doesn't rely on a specific exotic piece to make it really powerful. It just innately is. So if you want my personal recommendation summary wrap-up thing, run Middle Tree Dawnblade if you're a Warlock, be a Defender with Ward of Dawn if you're a Titan. If you already have a Defender or Dawnblade on your team, or you need some more boss damage, feel free to run Middle Tree Striker with that exotic chest armor. Hunters, in my opinion, have the most options, but I typically run Gunslinger with Celestial Nighthawk for dungeons or raids, especially during boss fights, Bottom Tree Night Stalker for nightfalls, and Middle Tree Gunslinger if I'm solo. I also like using Stasis in encounters where there are lots of ads. But that concludes my list on the best subclasses in Destiny 2 as of January 2022. This list might change in the coming months. If it drastically changes, I'll probably make a follow-up video. but I'll deal with that when and if it comes. Did you agree with the list? Did you disagree with anything? Let me know down in the comments section. If you found this video enjoyable or helpful, informative, whatever, something positive, you can let me know by dropping me a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.